Joining me now is the Pitmaster of Smokin Hoggz barbecue team. They just walked out of Lynchburg with grand champion honors for the 23rd annual Jack Daniel's Barbecue Cook-Off. We race over the hotline and bring up Bill Gillespie, first time in. Bill, how are you, buddy?
Hey, I'm doing good. How you doing?
I'm doing absolutely fantastic, Bill. Thanks for asking, first and foremost. And secondly, appreciate you making time out for the show tonight. Talk a little bit about the Jack. You're a few days away from it now. Really one of the biggest competitions that any level of competition cook talks about, one that they want to put on the old notch before you call it a barbecue career. So, as you look across the span of how long you've been competing and events that you've been in, does this one take the cake by far? Could you retire on this one and never look back and have any regrets? How does it kind of sit with you?
Yeah, this is definitely the pinnacle of my barbecue career. Like you said, every competitive barbecue guy looks at, I think, the Jack as the contest to go and compete in and also to win. I'm pretty happy about it.
For the people that don't know, how did you qualify to get in this year?
We qualified by we won 3 state championships this year. One of them was an automatic, and that was Merrimack, New Hampshire.
All right, so get in that way. We're talking with Bill Gillespie, Smokin Hoggz barbecue team. The website, by the way, in case you want to check them out, smokinhoggzbbq.com. Was this your first time down, Bill?
I've been once before. I was on another team, one of the teams that I started out with. We were there in 2007. Okay,
so I guess, the question that I've had, and, for teams, you got another fellow cook out there in the New England area, IQ, Chris Hart, who's been down, now 10 years in a row, so he's got a very well-versed plan that he works. Your second time down, this is your first time down as Smokin Hoggz.
Right.
How did the weekend go for you? I mean, by all accounts, it's jam-packed with things to do for the cooks. Do you have a game plan set up in advance to execute down there in order to keep yourself and the team on track?
Pretty much. It's pretty much what we've been doing all season long. We have a program that we follow, and it's been working really well for us this year.
Bill Gillespie joining us here on the show. All right, so how did the cook go just in general? I mean, you fire up, you have your bigger cuts on first. Was there anything out of the ordinary that you had to contend with? Any, drunkards kicking stuff over or people stealing people's beef?
We did. We lost a little bit of power, probably about maybe 2 o'clock in the morning. They had to wake me up, say we lost some power, so we figured that out, got that all up and running again. And then it seems I was a little more rushed this time around, just because there was a couple of extra categories before the actual, the 4 big meats. So that kind of had us a little bit behind. But it's kind of how you manage things. You just gotta kind of roll with the punches.
Did you ever give any consideration to not doing any of the ancillary categories and just sticking with the 4 major meats?
Yeah, I did think about that, but I mean, you're down there, so you might as well do all of them, get the full experience.
Do you take the trip up to the hill and do you go eat at all these places that I hear about all the time, or did you kind of skirt away from stuff that might take your attention away?
No, we did the tourist thing. We took a tour of the distillery. We went to the top of the hill. We were there for one thing, obviously, but we also wanted to have a good time too.
All right, so let's go ahead and look at your turn-ins by category. I assume that they call, like they would normally in a KCBS, chicken ribs, pork, and brisket?
Yep.
Okay,
yep.
And are they calling out how many places for categories?
I think they call it to 10th place in each category.
Top 10, and then did they do top 10 overall as well?
Yep, they did top 10 overall as well, yep.
All right, so we look at chicken category. No call there. You're 34th.
Right.
One of the unique portions of the Jack Daniel's competition, which is probably why it's not KCBS sanctioned, is that they do require you to turn in white meat. So just in general, what did you think about the chicken, and what did you choose for the white meat portion?
For the white meat, we chose wings. It's kind of funny because I really didn't practice doing the 7 pieces with the white meat. I was a little flustered at my turn-in for chicken, a little unhappy with the way it looked, but it sure did taste good.
Tasting is good, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Do you taste your chicken, and do you taste your categories just in general before you turn them in, or some?
I do, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So you get 34th on that. Ribs is next, another no call, so you're 26 ribs overall. How did they feel for you as you turn them in?
I thought they felt pretty well. The taste and everything has pretty much been what we've had all year long. They might have been a little dry in my own personal opinion, but overall I thought they were decent.
Are you a baby back? Are you a St. Louis style guy?
St. Louis.
Is that something you always go with, or have you traded back and forth from time to time?
No, I've done pretty much St. Louis. I think there was one contest last year that I tried baby backs, but I'm pretty much a spare rib St. Louis kind of guy.
Bill Gillespie joining us here on the show. We're breaking down the category turn-ins that won on the Jack Daniels this past weekend. All right, pork is next. Top 10 call here, 9th place pork. Not knowing where you're hanging for the first 2 categories, how good does hearing your name called and getting to walk the stage?
Oh, we were thrilled. I like the way we did our pork this time. Just to hear your name called, I was pretty much at that point. I was like, sweet. I'm happy. I heard my name called at the Jack. I can go home a happy person. So that pretty much made our weekend at that point.
Yeah, I was going to ask. I don't know if you go around asking when you're visiting with some of the other teams. Obviously, everybody that's going down there wants to win it. And then there has to be some other, let's say, less prioritized goals where you want to hear a call or you just want to finish in this place or that place. Just hearing one call out of a category would have been just fine with you?
Absolutely. Yep. Especially in a field of that caliber. You're talking about the top teams in the country.
All right. So last category is brisket. Don't hear your name for that, but you're not that far out of the call. You're 14th overall.
Right.
So I'm wondering, I'm talking to a lot of competition teams during the course of, however long I've been doing the show. And for the teams that win it, it seems like, that they're up there, top 10, top 5. They're getting 3 out of 4 category calls. They might win a couple. So the math, or at least logically, they would be thinking to themselves, I got a really good shot at winning this. Not hearing your name called 3 out of the 4, and they're starting to call out top 10 overall. Where's your mindset there?
I'm thinking, I don't know, just to maybe finish in the top half, with just the call and pork. You never know how these things really go, but we felt pretty good about our brisket. It's been pretty much our go-to category, if you will, for the whole season. We've done really well with brisket. I like I said, I was just happy with the pork call. So, to hear it overall was just amazing.
Now, as you're getting closer and closer to getting reserve, and then overall, when you hear Big Bob Gibson's getting called reserve, is there ever a thought in your mind that the next name that's going to be called is yours, or do you completely don't even think about that? You dismiss it altogether?
Nah, there's always a glimmer of hope. You're always down to the wire. It could be, and if it is, awesome. If it's not, it's not the end of the world. But yeah, there was a little bit of a glimmer of hope, just kind of running through everything in my head, who got calls, just the situation at hand, really.
All right, so when your name's called, you have Smokin Hoggz as overall grand champion for the 23rd Jack Daniels. Initial emotions, initial thoughts that spring right in your head as you hear your name called.
Holy crap, that's us. That's really us. It's just, I don't know, absolutely amazing.
Is there a contest that you can compare it to that you've been to that you've had this type of an elation or joy of winning, or is it just on a whole different planet?
Earlier in the year, we won our very first grand championship at in Rochester, New York, at the Rock City Rib Fest, and that was absolutely amazing. And to win the Jack and to have that kind of feeling, but like tenfold. You know, I mean, the first one was awesome, but this one is just awesome times a million, you know?
And it's got to be a little bit sweeter in the fact that, you know, every winner gets to go right back the following year and stab their hand again.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're thrilled about that. We can't wait.
Bill Gillespie joining us here on the show. Again, the website, if you want to check them out, Smokin Hoggz, BBQ.com, another New England team. So there's having a little bit of success going from north down south to Lynchburg between you and IQ and, you know, some of the other great teams cooking out there in the Nebs area. Do you think that New England is getting, of course, you got Steve Farron up there too, I Smell Smoke. Do you think that your section of teams out there in the country are getting the respect and kind of that justification for being good cooks up where we are?
Yeah, I think so. I think they're slowly realizing that the Northeast is the place to be for barbecue now.
Should be one of the newest 5 meccas of barbecue. Forget Carolina.
That's right, absolutely.
All right, Bill, so, you know, for the people that aren't as familiar with your whole background in barbecue, how about a little synopsis of you and kind of how you got into this whole barbecue deal and when you decided to start competing?
All right. Well, I've been cooking on a smoker for about 15 years. I started out on one of those small little Brinkman gourmet smokers. And a couple of guys that I worked with were doing some backyard competitions, and they asked me if, you know, I wanted to kind of tag along, and I said sure. So I started competing in '05, and my very first contest, there was the 4 standard categories plus a chef's choice, and I did a smoked salmon. Got a call for 4th place, and I've been hooked ever since.
Is that what happens? You mean you go to one of these things, you compete, you get a call, and it's like, man, I'm good enough to do this right off the bat, right?
Yeah, you know, it's like, wow, you know, maybe I can really do this kind of thing. You know, I mean, I've always been a fan of barbecue anyway, so just to have that first call, you know, just sort of, it made sense.
Bill, I have to ask you this question coming in from the Gone Hog and Barbecue team. They want to know if you can credit any of the success to the fact that the machine visited you at the Royal.
Absolutely. It was all the machine.
I have no idea what that means, so it's got to be an inside joke. So you started competing in '05. What do you cook on now? What's your competition rig?
I cook on a backwards Fat Boy and a WSM.
Any reason why you decided to look at a backwoods style smoker?
I like how it's insulated. I like that it's a water smoker. It's pretty easy to use, and it turns out one hell of a product.
Do you use lump briquettes in there, or do you use hardwood?
I use lump.
All right. Now, are you injecting, or you're not injecting your bigger cuts, your briskets and butts?
I am. Yep, I do inject.
Are you willing to give up your injection? Is it something you make homemade, or are you using something that's readily available on the market these days?
No, I use butcher's beef and butcher's pork.
All right. Well, I'm sure he's very happy to hear that. Butcher Barbecue, a sponsor of the show, so it's winning. Dave Bosco, a little hand in helping you win the Jack Daniels this year.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I guess, you know, one of the other questions that I have for you is you have a lot of teams. Competition barbecue especially seems to be growing leaps and bounds. You look back over the last 3 or 4 years, there's been a huge explosion in the number of teams that are showing up, the interest that people have, because, look, let's face it, we can love football all we want in a professional level, but I'm not going to be able to get out there on a field and perform at a world-class level. I'm going to guess that you're probably not either. So competition barbecue allows us to not have to be in world-class shape in order to try our hand at cooking great barbecue. So for the teams that are looking to get into it or have just started, what advice do you have now that you got 5-6 years underneath your belt? Do you have to teams getting out there to help kind of ramp their learning curve?